All right, what TV and radio channels can you receive currently on satellite Galaxy 1997 West KU band? I have a 39-inch KU band dish set up here, and it's got a linear KU band LNB. It's a standard linear LNB. Now, a nice 39-inch round dish like this is probably ideal for KU band, but if you're in Canada, you can also locate one of these. This is a Shaw Star Choice satellite dish that will also work for free-to-air satellite. It already has a linear LNB on the end of it, so that'll work as well for free-to-air. Now, when you're setting up your dish, you got to make sure you're aiming it as precisely as you can. Every location is going to be different. So how my dish is set up here, I'm way up north, and you can see that the elevation of my dish, it's almost kind of looking level with the ground. If you're further south, your dish is going to point higher up into the sky, and that's just because of the curvature of the earth. I have to look out at the satellite kind of straight out, whereas a further south location would have to look more up at the satellite. When you aim your dish, you have to get 3 parameters exact, otherwise you're not going to get a good signal. The first one is the azimuth. That's the east-west direction that your satellite faces. The second one is the elevation or the look angle of the dish up into the sky. As I said, because I'm further north, my dish tends to point more downward. If you're further south, it's going to look more up into the sky. And that one's really important because you're really lining up the dish at the same angle as the satellite beam is traveling down to the dish, and the elevation is really what brings in your signal quality. So getting that aligned is really, really important. And finally, the last one has to do with the LNB. It's called the skew angle, and this is like the tilt angle of your LNB. Generally speaking, satellites that are further west or east on your arc are going to have more of a tilt or skew than satellites that are somewhere in the middle of the arc. They don't tend to have as much of a skew. But that's important because you want to match up the angle that the satellite is sitting at on your arc, and that's going to bring in the maximum signal because it lines up the little tiny antennas that are in your LNB with the satellite, either horizontally or vertically. This is an example of one of the current satellite receivers that will work for free-to-air satellite. This is the GT Media V7 S2X, and this is what you want to get: at least a receiver that has an S2X tuner, and more importantly, will decode MPEG-4 video. This one here is even more advanced. This is the AMIKO Mini HD265, which also decodes HEVC H.265 video. Personally, this is my favorite receiver, but they're kind of hard to find nowadays. You don't really need a receiver that does HEVC H.265. MPEG-4 is what you want at a minimum, and that'll also decode the older codecs like MPEG-2 and MPEG-1. The newest version of this receiver does decode HEVC H.265 video, but honestly, as long as you have a receiver that decodes MPEG-4 and is DVB S2 and S2X, that will pick up most of the channels available on free-to-air satellite. This is the main menu for the receiver. We'll go down to Install and then select Satellite List. And KU band Galaxy 97 West is already checkmarked there. You can see on our signal meter, we've got a good signal. The dish is already set up for this satellite. One thing you should double check though is this: your LNB's oscillator frequency. Sometimes this is called the mixing frequency. This is really important to set up properly. I'm using a standard KU band LNB, so the correct frequency is 10,750 megahertz. Now watch what happens if I change this. Let's say, for example, I choose universal LNB instead. Watch the signal meter. Signal goes away because now I've confused the receiver. It's important to use the right LNB frequency because That lets the receiver calculate where all the channels are going to be. And if that's wrong, your receiver will miscalculate where to find all the channels. We'll just change that back and the signal comes back. Now, here's how you know what frequency to use. Check the label on your LNB. There will be a line on there that says LO for local oscillator. And that's the frequency that you have to choose here in your receiver's menu. It's got to match the LNB type you're using or you won't get a signal. Now we'll just exit out of this portion of the menu. And now that we're all set up here, we'll press the blue button on the remote control and run a blind scan. We're going to select blind scan from our scan mode option here. Now, if you don't know what a blind scan is, think of it like taking your dog for a walk. Your dog's going to sniff all over the place, and some things your dog finds are going to be interesting, and some places your dog's going to find nothing. And that's what a blind scan is. It's the receiver basically scanning every signal that the dish picks up, and some of those signals or transponders are going to have TV or radio channels on them, and some of them aren't. So as your receiver scans all of these signals that your dish finds, it will add the TV and radio channels to your channel guide. So we're going to go ahead and press search, and the scan's going to begin. You can see that the TV and radio channels pop up on the list as they're scanned into the receiver, and also down at the bottom you see all of the transponders that are being scanned by the receiver. So these are the transponders that the dish finds, and the receiver scans them and adds any TV or radio channels that are transmitted on them. So about 90 TV channels from all over the world on Galaxy 19. This is the international satellite here in North America. So you're going to get stations from all over the place in many different languages. Some of them are English. Most of these stations are religious. There's a few channels on here that I will tune into on occasion. This one here is kind of neat. This is Wild TV. It's Canadian. It's an outdoors network, hunting, fishing, stuff like that. We do big stories, kind of like a documentary, outdoorsy channel as well. Euro News is on here, both in Spanish, and the English feed is here. It scans in as channel 2001. You'll get that sometimes on free-to-air satellite. Channels will scan in under really strange names. I guess it has everything to do with whether or not the broadcaster has updated the data to name the channel correctly. Here's another interesting one here. WM Cattle. This is a cattle auction channel. Again, stuff you wouldn't find on cable or with an over-the-air antenna. And you can see some of the other channels on here from all over the world. Although some of these I think are also over-the-air stations in the States. I think this Vietnam IBC TV might be carried in some big cities, maybe Los Angeles and a few other places over the air. This one's from Italy. Channels from the Middle East here. What else? Positive. This is a family-friendly movie channel. Smile of a Child used to be a religious children's channel, but that went off the air a few months back. They haven't updated the data here. As you can see, it's still scanning in as Smile of a Child, even though it's long gone. This is now just an infomercial channel. Channels from China here, Morocco. Yeah, all over the place. And then you also get some occasional news feeds here as well. So you might get a reporter from a local TV station going on air, and they will make their report and then do an uplink, back to the TV station, or maybe to another station somewhere else in the US. Definitely interesting. Stuff you can't find on regular cable or over-the-air television. And on the radio side, 26 radio channels. Again, lots of these are in languages other than English. Some English stations, but again, a lot of them are religious. That's it for this video. Visit my channel for more on free-to-air satellite television and stay tuned.